Baseball was the only main activity open to African Americans at that time. You couldn't play golf. You could caddy, but you had no place to play.
We played in pastures, yards, anywhere there was enough space to have a game.
That was the only thing we played. We didn't have football. We didn't have basketball.
When we played with the tennis ball, we had gloves, but we made our own sticks for bats. I started playing organized baseball when I was about 16 or 17.
Well, I played baseball in high school. We had a high school team that was considered one of the best high school teams in and around. We played teams in Washington. We played teams in high school teams from Baltimore Douglas High School. And we played Dunbar High School in Washington and Armstrong High School.
Did you play any of the white schools?
We did not play any white schools, no. Sam Rice and Jack Bentley was known to have brought teams back here after the season was over to play some of the guys. I did not play in that group, though. They were fellows much older than I.
Do you remember any of the results of those games with Jack Bentley and?
Well, we won. We were supposedly we won the game. That was a great boost for us.
Well, I think I could name quite a few guys from the Rockville High School baseball team that could have made the professional teams. But at that time, you did not pay too much money. And I tried over with the Homestead Grays, and I wanted to play baseball, and my mother said, no, you're going to school. And that was the end of that conversation. After high school, I played baseball with the Sandy Spring All-Stars, they call them. And my major positions were center field and shortstop.
And you played with Wilmore Hill?
Wilmore Hill, Dave Snowden.
Bob Hill?
Bob Hill, Duty Orchard, Put Lancaster, Jigs Hill. Those were the guys that I played with. We played baseball every Saturday, somewhere in the community, Emery Grove, Colesville, or Daly's Park.
How about Sundays?
In Norbeck, and Sundays. He played baseball on Sunday, too. Mm-hmm. I was the second hitter. Wilmore Hill was the first number one. I was number two. We were good batters. We could get on base. And those other guys, Duty Orchard, those guys would bring us in. They were larger and older.
We could beat any team, any amateur team that came in here, or they could be all-stars that came in here. My grandfather had two sons that played on the team. That's before me. And when they go out, they played weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. And when they come back, see, my grandfather never go to a game on a Sunday. That wasn't right. But when they come back, he wouldn't ask them who won. He'd ask them, what was the score?
We did not travel very much. Now, we did go, sometimes we would go to the end of Virginia and play. And we would play over in Baltimore. But we didn't travel, the distance wasn't too great.
We were playing in the Negro Park in Baltimore, and there was a man on the bench marking scores on the great big scoreboard, deep center field, and he was just laying on the bench. And Bob Hill hollered, "Get off that bench!" And you know, he hit the ball, and the ball hit the bench, and the man had to go off the bench. Now that's a miracle. That's a miracle.
Now, wasn't there a diamond at the Cedars where the Faulkners lived? Wasn't there a soft baseball diamond there?
Yes, but that was most of the time white played there. Teams from Howard County and Dayton and around played at Faulkners. Right up on side the road, yes, but the black boys never played there, as I can remember.
Did you ever play the blacks versus the whites? Or?
Oh yes, they played Negroes, especially in the fall of the year. Yeah, they would play.
After the
That's
season.
why we learned how to throw a curveball to the whites.
Ah.
We found out that it was hard for them to hit a curveball, but if you threw that, we used to call it, they don't say it now, a garden line. That's the fastball. We used to call it the garden line back then. If you threw them that, you never would find it no more. But if you threw the curveball, they had a little problem with that.
Now, was Russell Alkard,
Russell Alcott was, yes.
was he there in school at the same time with you?
Russell was in high school the same time as I was. Very good athlete, Russell was. And Russell went on to make, I went on to school, to Bowie. I'll tell you about that a little further in my years. But Russell stayed in the area and kept on playing ball.
He started playing with Sandy Spring, but he didn't play with Sandy Spring no great long time. Then he played with Rockville. Then he played with a semi-pro team, the Royals they called themselves.
Think we need
And
somebody to
he also, during the time, he went off to New York to play with the New York Cubans.
He had a lovely time. And you travel from city to city. He lived in New York, and he would play with the Eagles. They in Jersey, and he had a lovely time. And he played with some real good baseball players. Some of those guys could, Satchel Paige, Buck Leonard. Those guys were.
Josh Gibson.
Josh Gibson. Now, what would happen? Those guys would come after their season was over. They would travel, and they would come through Norbeck. We played against them. The Sandy Spring Stars played against them. They would win the game, but we had fun.
Would he have been able to play Major League Ball, you think?
Oh, yes. Yes. In fact, yes, he would, no question about it. Because the teams that he played were either synonymous or equal to Major League.
You couldn't tell who could play in the Negro Leagues or who couldn't play in the Negro Leagues because there was no money in the Negro Leagues. There was a living, you got your bus trip and you got your meals and you got your bed. All right, but if you were home and you had a job and it was paying you a minimum amount of money, you wouldn't try to play in the Negro League because you couldn't afford to go, leave your family and to go away. So a lot of those players, had they had the opportunity to play, could have played.
I think we had quite a few people. Paul Scott, Wilmore Hill, Bay Snowden, Allison Claggett. All of us played on the same type of ball that Russell Alkard played on. But we didn't go to the majors. We preferred to do other things. They didn't. The major leagues, the black major leagues, did not pay the money. And well, my mother told me that I was going to school. I wasn't going to play baseball. I think she made a very, very wise decision. Yeah, I deeply appreciate the decision that she made now.